Okay. So before we get started, this is actually the first meeting that we've had this year. You all need to elect a chair and a vice chair. So, we have 4 members on, we have you all. If you can just go around and just say your name, for the record, and then we'll have David also chime in. So I'm gonna start with you.
Yeah, Bobby Hosmer.
Okay.
Roger Applegate.
Jane Bragg.
All right. And we have David Lamont on Zoom.
Hi,
Oh,
sorry.
Okay.
They say better late than never, right?
This is not a good morning. First, they were grading my road, so I was stuck behind the grader. And my car's out in the parking lot and the latch on the door won't.
Huh.
It just kind of boom and
Oh,
I
no.
can't, and I tried moving the latch like with my key, trying to get it to go, boom, boom, so it's open out in the parking lot. I can't shut it.
Do you just want to say your name for the record?
Sure, this is Sandy Duchesne.
Okay. So I was just telling them,
I could have zoomed.
okay, since it's our first meeting, we just need to elect a chair and a vice chair. So just need to nominate somebody and then you can all go around the vote.
Is Lucy?
I
no
was just
longer?
gonna ask you who was on the committee.
So it's you all, and there's one other member whose name I'm blanking on. Oh, Brandon.
Brandon,
And Lucy is not on the,
She's not.
Has Lucy stepped off, right?
I think so, yeah. So we have, so we're just missing Brandon, I think.
Okay,
I've been serving as vice chair and I'd be willing to chair if
Wonderful.
everybody else.
I would absolutely love
wants.
it.
Yeah. Okay, thank
So
you.
moved.
Okay,
I'll second.
all right. David, are you good with that?
Thank you, Sandy.
He's muted, no problem.
Sorry, just some technical difficulties. Yes, I'm okay with that.
And then a vice chair. So-
That would not be me, so.
Somebody.
Where's Brandon? He would love to do
Yeah.
that.
Yep,
I think,
that's the penalty for not showing up.
okay, I just need everybody to vote on that.
I may be late, but I'm ahead of Brandon.
Okay.
Is he coming?
He said he would, but,
Okay. I'm in favor of it. I think you do a great job, but.
Yep.
okay. David?
Yes.
Okay, so Brandon is vice chair. All right, so the first item on the agenda is the land development permit application at 570 Stillwater. I'm gonna go ahead and share the screen here because I have the plan pulled up. And then, we also have the applicants here that can speak on that, so, I think Jordan and Josh. Let's see, you should be able to talk. Let me know if I need to pull you over as a panelist.
Yeah, Jordan, do you want me to run through it?
Yeah, I think it might be helpful to just give a little high level background, and I can kind of do that and kick it over to you, Josh.
Yeah, perfect.
I don't know the exact timing, but a few years back we brought forth development plans for the property here located off of Stillwater Avenue for a proposed drive-through restaurant. That drive-through restaurant required us to do some selective demo or a partial demo of the existing building, which was once Bangor braces and, edible arrangements and sorts. Since working on that project and, the increased cost for construction as well as, just the interest rate challenges, we've had to look at other options for this project. Right now we have a lot of leasing activity on the existing building and really wanted to put forth a plan that would be economically feasible to present to the community to move forward, which would require us to only do a selective demo of the former Bangor braces and then release out the existing center as is with new tenant lineup. So at a high level, I think it's just important to understand that the previously approved plans right now are something that I'm unable to deliver on. But what you see in front of you here today is a plan option that would allow us to, try to revitalize, the existing building that currently Verizon, GNC, Supercuts, and Subway occupy. I can defer to Josh Klein, who's with Stonefield Engineering, who's our civil engineer on the project, as it gets into maybe some more technical questions. But I think it's just important to understand some of the history here and how we're looking to revitalize a center that has been underutilized for the past few years.
Josh, were you wanting to say anything or are you all set?
Yeah, I think that kind of touches on it. I mean, just to, highlighting the scope a little bit. I mean, I think the goal here was to kind of, find ways to, create efficient parking, maintain kind of safe access to the site, introduce kind of green space that doesn't exist there in the front today. So that's what kind of this latest plan. This is not the original plan that was submitted. This was an updated version. So it kind of looks to, maintain the existing access, based on the previous approval at the driveway, kind of create some efficient parking and then kind of introduce this like open space area in the front. So it kind of allows us to have some additional green space, possibly some outdoor, seating and things like that during the summer months, depending on the tenant mix, while kind of enhancing the parking layout. So happy to go into any more details, but we think it's going to be kind of a nice, nice improvement for the center.
I have a couple of questions. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, this is Sandy. Number one, how tall are these buildings going to be? How many stories? Are they all-
Everything's existing. There's no proposed buildings as part of the project.
Yeah, they're removing a
Oh,
building that's
okay,
here.
they're just taking out that building. All right.
Can I see exactly where the building, I drove over there the other day and I was trying to get a feeling for what is coming down.
Yeah, so it's a building that is right here and it's connected to these.
What's it
Okay.
called right now, or what was it?
It's been the Harley Davidson, it's been Bangor Braces, it's kind of Talbot's is right on the backside of it.
On
Oh,
the
okay.
backside,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Across the border. So it kind of comes out and it runs towards Stoller Avenue.
Okay.
I have a question. This is David.
Yeah.
You said I don't know who was speaking first when they said that it's being underutilized, but right now you said Verizon's in there. And anyway, it sounds like there's a number of businesses in there. What do you mean by it's underutilized? I wasn't sure what that meant.
Yeah, so as the center sits today, I don't know the exact square footage, but call it roughly 15,000 square feet between the former Bangor Braces and then, kind of the strip lineup that you see in front of you here on the screen. I would say the vast majority of that building, or the majority of that building, has been vacant over the course of the last 4.5 years. So that's what I meant by that. We recently delivered to GNC within the last 5 months. So they were a new tenant that took roughly 1,800 square feet. But as it sits today, we're still left with probably roughly 10,000 square feet of vacancy, to include the Bangor Braces. So yes, it is being utilized by four existing tenants that would remain in place, but I'd say roughly 50% of the gross leasable area remains vacant.
So, Roger Applegate, I'd like to ask a sort of maybe it's a technical question. One of your goals is to improve sort of the safety of access to that area and the efficiency of it. So I can tell you, because I live right behind that, first of all, so I'm around that property several times every day. I also patronize businesses that are in there right now. And one of the challenges as a customer going in and out of that is the blockage of that intersection by traffic. And that's a very real reality. So you're right next to on ramp of the interstate, plus that adjacent large shopping center. And you're also sandwiched between another stoplight, all of which in combination cause a huge blockage of traffic because those intersections get blocked. That light, it's not uncommon to have to wait for the light to change at least 2 cycles to get in and out of that facility there you're talking about. And that's just sometimes ordinary traffic, not just like busy like Holiday when it's all bottled up all along Stillwater Avenue. So I'm wondering what considerations you might have in mind to try to improve that particular situation, because the success of those businesses is really going to depend a lot on whether people can get in and out. And businesses all along there, especially on that side of the road, really have difficulties with access.
Yeah, I would say the biggest consideration that we're taking into account here is that our proposed plan is reducing the amount of existing GLA that's on the site. So we're taking away leasable area that currently sits. So, the overall center would have less square footage available to lease to new tenants. So
Yeah,
that's,
when it comes to traffic on the road, there's not really much they can do about that. The only situation would be if they were adding a bunch of trips and they would trigger a DOT permit and then they might have to make offsite improvements. But in this situation, they're taking away a building and just adding parking. So
Yeah.
not much they can do on that.
But that will hopefully, I mean, the goal would be to fill those vacancies, I would assume.
Yeah, but they're taking out the whole building on the right. So all the trips that would normally go to that building aren't gonna be
But
there.
there are none. There haven't been, but there's other vacancies all along that strip right there. There's vacancies, so I'm assuming the hope with additional parking and things of that sort. But that would be the ultimate goal, would be to attract people to leasing those other properties and to keep the folks that are there.
Yeah,
So
but all
they
that
can-
has already been permitted as far as DOT goes. They wouldn't trigger like a stoplight or anything like that unless
Well,
they.
there is a stoplight there,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, but there's like no new changes that they could make or would be required to make because they're not adding new buildings.
So they couldn't, like use the old, like there's a breakout along the driveway if you go into the shopping center right now. Right on the left-hand side of that property, basically what looks like close to their property line, there's a breakout along there in the curbing that looks like there was intended to be a driveway, or they had it roughed out to put a driveway into that property at one time. So what I'm wondering is if they could facilitate that by having an alternate. It's farther up than that. It's like toward the back. So right on the back side of the property there.
Yeah.
So in behind that set of, I assume those three businesses, that building there, they also own, that has the T-Mobile and so forth and the Aspen, yeah.
we own the
So
Select Comfort Building, T-Mobile and Aspen Dental.
That rough out is right beside, like right behind those buildings.
Jordan, correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like I remember when you guys came in for the original site plan, we had coordinated with you to create something on your side, but it was the property owners over here that didn't want that connection. Is that right?
Correct. I think it was a condition upon the site plan approval that we received for called the Starbucks development,
Yeah.
was to initiate cross access. That was I was able to speak with the owner of the neighboring center, and they declined to do that. So I think how we were able to appease the condition was kind of showing a proposed cross access location on our property, due to the fact that we don't have the rights to put anything on the neighboring property. So we were open to that, based upon the initial site plan approval, but ultimately we're not able to get the neighboring property to agree.
Okay. All right, scrap that. But that answers my question. That's what I was looking to find out, if there was an issue with the adjacent landowners for their like kept fee. That would need to be accessed, but
Otherwise, I reviewed the materials and it's not a big change. I don't have any other issues with it myself.
I feel the same, yeah.
I feel the same.
Okay. David, were you all set?
I'm all set, thanks.
Okay. Well, if there's no questions or recommendations or anything, then I guess you all are good to go for planning board.
So would next steps be filling out an application and, going through the checklist of what would be required to go to planning board?
Right, it'll be your official submission. You've already had your pre-app meeting with us. And so we'll just need your application and fee and site plan. So it's the same process as last time, but if you have any questions, just send me an email.
Okay. We'll do. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you for making the time.
Yeah, no problem.
Appreciate it, guys. Have a nice day.
You too.
Bye now. Good luck.
All right, so the second item on the agenda, which also, Brandon, just to catch you up, since this was our first,
latest penalty.
yeah, since it was our first meeting, we had to elect a chair and vice chair, and you were elected the vice chair. So the second item was Brandon had requested that we just talk about some of your previous recommendations and how those were implemented. Unfortunately, our record keeping wasn't the best going back before last year. But for the two projects that you did review last year, for 416 Stillwater, you had 4 recommendations. And the first one with the dumpster stormwater, they did make that change to their plans. For exterior lighting, the planning board did make a condition on lighting, but they just changed the wording to make that more feasible for the developer. The applicant didn't include red fescue in their planting schedule. And then also on the bird-friendly building design, they did make that, the planning board made that a condition of approval. But the tricky part with that is that we don't have any guidelines or any specifications in our code for that. So it makes it really hard for enforcement and implementation. But we are looking at bird-friendly building design as we're updating our land development code. So we do anticipate having something in there about that. When
Maine
that's,
Audubon has done quite a bit of work with that, and they've worked with the city of Portland and a lot of the private business owners down there, so you might want to check their website for some ideas.
yeah, I will definitely. And I
Nick
just,
Lund would be the point of contact there. Very
Okay.
interesting.
I saw, I was just reading through Portland's ordinance yesterday and I saw their bird-friendly design ordinance, so.
Yeah, Maine Audubon's, we've been working very closely, so they've got a lot of expertise there.
Okay.
Can you clarify, 416 and 876 to those who don't know?
Yep, 416 Stillwater, that was a co-living dormitory. That was
Where Little
proposed.
Angels daycare was, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
I don't even think they've actually started construction yet.
they have not, they just drove by it. and
So
walked.
they might be, well, they still have another year to go, but they might be running out of time on that. So I don't know if that's actually gonna happen. 876 Stillwater was the Blue Seal feeds. They were changing some things around on their site. And you all had asked that they work with wastewater department to look at the possibility of putting a floor drain in their greenhouse. And so the planning board did also make that a condition of approval.
great.
So,
That's looking really nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't driven by there recently, so.
Whatever happened with the solar farm?
Which one?
Remember, it was like 2 or 3 years ago, we reviewed, it was plans for a large solar farm.
On the Gilman Road?
On the Gilman.
Oh, that's on.
it's built,
Yeah.
It's built.
Yeah, Roger.
it's built. I see it out my kitchen window every morning.
Yeah.
In all its beauty.
Do you know, so we had put in quite a bit of language with that about the wildlife friendly fencing and the vegetation that was used, and there was even conversation at the end of the meeting at the time about, collaborating, I think, with the Bangor Land Trust to do wildlife observation, on that site. Do you know if any of that,
I don't know about the Bangor Land Trust piece of it, but I did look at the fencing from Google Street View and it looked like it was wildlife friendly fencing. So I know that much, and I couldn't tell on the vegetation piece of it from Google Street View. But I'm not really involved in the actual
Yeah.
So
like checking.
I've been, as it's been built, right, I mean, bordering part of my property. As it's been constructed, I've been monitoring birds and bird use there the whole time, and the bird fauna's shifted. Of course, there were grassland birds there before and bobolinks, and I had one detection of a bobolink briefly last spring and this spring, but they've not stayed to nest. So they're gone effectively from that whole landscape there because there's just not enough grass anymore. But what we have had an increase is a wonderfully massive increase is starlings. Just saying, I have them and I now can't put suet out, feed birds, because the starlings will come and devastate all of it within a day.
Right.
And then it's gone, and the woodpeckers and everything just go wanting. So yeah, it's been an ecological issue, and it's one that I've been frustrated about in general, not just that one. It's just the massive size, footprint of it, 2,000 units, and I've wanted to go in there to count birds, but they keep it all locked up and they've got security stuff around. And it's like, I have to be prepared to get arrested, I think, if I get up there.
That's something,
too close.
if you would like to do that, and I think probably people from Bangor Land Trust would be interested in it as well. That's a conversation that we could probably initiate with those developers, because they were open to it at the time that it was approved. And do you get the sense, we had conversations, they were just going to do once yearly mowing within the facility, and otherwise let the vegetation grow throughout the year. Do you see that happening, or is?
So they really didn't get grass established underneath those things until like last year.
Yeah.
And so last year, by the time they had grass, I think they were only able to mow it once anyway. They really only had one time that they could actually go in and mow it. But so this year will be the acid test.
Yeah.
Everything was pretty much dirt up until last year because they were still, I mean, they were really struggling to get that together because they had all kinds of issues. I mean, it took about 3 years total to get everything there.
Yeah.
And it took over a year just to get the culvert, which they needed to put to allow the flow of water that goes, well, basically it drains from Essex Park down through the old railroad bed and connects with Penjajawoc Stream back behind the dairy farm. And that pipe was, well, it's a double aluminum pipe, and it took them a long time to get that because it was back ordered from wherever.
Supply chain issues.
Yeah, and so they finally got that pipe in, and they couldn't do a lot of construction until they got that in. So they had to build an extension of the road, of the street, and for that facility. It was just a dirt path that dirt bikes used before that, and motocross cycles. But yeah, it was a long-standing project, so we dealt with our driveway blocked by semis delivering stuff for about 2 years, and then finally it settled down.
That's all we have on
That's
the
all.
agenda, so.
So who's the chair?
Me? I'm
I
volunteer.
didn't say it's not a punishment.
Although, no, I was a little bit late too, so we both get the penalty. Is Lucy doing okay?
I think is the recording?
No, it's not, but if you all want to end the meeting and then talk about that after, then we can do that.
I'll entertain a motion to end the meeting.